I want to start off with thank you to our corporate sponsors. Our corporate sponsors that are here today, our gold sponsors, Rollstone Bank and Trust. We have Laura, Chris, and Jonathan from Rollstone Bank and Trust. The Next Best Group, we have Chip, Declan, Enterprise Bank, Jim Adams, and our community builders, Alpha Graphics at Shirley, we have Jeff and Stevens. I also want to thank our board members that are here today, and I'm going to do something different, and I'm going to actually ask for my board members to stand up. I saw an eye roll. Thank you. Very special thanks to our chamber board. We're very lucky. We have a really great board of chamber. And I've been here for 20 years. I've seen a number of boards. So I'm going to turn it over to Sheila King-Goodwin from Fidelity Bank. And Sheila is going to tell us what is new and exciting and happening at Fidelity Bank. Sheila.
Good morning, everyone. It's really an honor to be the presenting sponsor for the Neshoba Valley Chamber Breakfast with the Boss, focusing on leading in the biopharma industry. I look forward to hearing from Odile, and I'm already inspired by the work that she's doing, the cutting-edge manufacturing that really includes personalized cell therapy for patients with cancer. Now that's what we call life design. At Fidelity Bank, life design is our unique banking approach. It's our own way of providing our clients the clarity that they need to move forward with confidence. In a world of uncertainty, it is our mission to provide our clients care, clarity, and confidence. We're humbled recently to be named to the Forbes 2022 Best of In-State Banks. We're a full-service bank with 13 banking centers in Shirley, Fitchburg, in Gardner, as well as in Worcester, just to name a few. We are a part of the community because we care about what happens in our markets, and we want to make your lives, our lives, a better place to live, work, and raise our families. At Fidelity Bank, our decisions are made locally, so you can reach out to any one of our talented banking professionals. You can call us, you can chat with us on our website. We even have live video. We have several of our talented colleagues here this morning. We have Ruby here from our Minister Connector office. I see Joyce, I saw her, from our Shirley Banking Center. And we really do have a talented team of colleagues that will help you get to where you want to be. And I'm just humbled to be in the presence of everyone this morning and just so excited and humbled to hear a lot about what we're going to hear from Odile. I told her this morning my chemistry teacher, Miss Spencer, would have told me to stay as far away from her as possible because I barely got out of that class by the skin of my chinny chin chin. So I'm just very humbled and excited to be here this morning. If you ever need anything from a banking perspective, again, our goal is to give you care, clarity, and confidence. And we really want to help our clients get to where they want to be. So looking forward to sharing the breakfast with you this morning. It's a pleasure to meet all of you. You all look so beautiful. Good morning.
I pop out from behind the curtain. Our guest speaker, Odile, serves as Vice President and Site Head for the company's Devens facility at Bristol Myers Squibb. The Devens site includes 3 distinct manufacturing facilities, a large-scale cell culture facility focused on commercial production, a single-use facility strategically optimized for clinical supply and commercial launch, and a cell therapy facility focused on CAR-T, should be wearing my glasses, CAR-T production to support cancer patients. Odile joined Bristol Myers Squibb in 2021 from Sanofi Pasteur. Apologies And
What are French names there?
this bio is throwing me for a loop. Where she was head of biologics manufacturing, responsible for multiple licensed production buildings, as well as 3 support groups supplying drug substance for viral and bacterial products for worldwide markets. She also served as Senior Director of Manufacturing. Technology for the company, responsible for the process and product development, industrialization, validation, and manufacturing assistance. Other roles at Sanofi included Program Director, CMC Leader, Director of Manufacturing Technology, and Project Leader and Operations Manager. Before Sanofi, she worked for Roche and Rome and Haas. Roche and Rome and Haas, Dow Company. My apologies. A native of France, Odile holds a PhD in medicinal chemistry from the University of Louis Pasteur and a bachelor's in chemical engineering from Ecole. Am I saying so? All right, I'm not saying it correctly at all. The rest of the words I'm actually just going to ignore, and I'm going to invite Odile and Jason Kelpie is our interviewer this morning, and many of you we've had the pleasure of having Jason at many of our breakfasts to interview, and I'm actually positive he's going to do a much better job than I have done this morning with these words, so I apologize. Come on up.
Thanks, Melissa. So we heard your bio, and it's all impressive, but really, what was the path that led a woman growing up in France to work at a decommissioned military base in Massachusetts?
So I started at the end, and obviously from the street you may not see much of Bristol Squibb, but it is far from looking like a decommissioned military base anymore. So I just want to clarify that point. I was not that brave. I would not necessarily have gone into a military base. But to come back to your question, really, Jason, yes, you can hear all the stuff in the bio of the different jobs I've held and the different companies I worked for. But I think ultimately what has driven my path so far has been really made possible by a couple of traits that I developed really from how I was raised as a child. And I come we were 5 siblings, so I learned very early that fairness is very important, and my parents always educated us in a way that work hard, the sky is the limit, and keep on learning. And so, this is very much how my brain works today, and what drives me is really continuously discovering new things and do something that is really important for the world, really, because we supply the whole world, and it was the same at Sanofi. So I made many turns. There was, I didn't graduate and say, oh yeah, in 2022 I will work in Massachusetts at Bristol Squibb. Certainly not. But the way I built the past has been opportunistic, but always driven to do something that was appealing to me. And so mission of the companies has been essential in my choices. And I've not always gone up. Sometimes I have actually made two moves where I stepped down because I wanted to make a change that was getting me more in the directions where I wanted to go. And for example, when I joined Sanofi, on purpose, I took a job that was really lower, and of course I got bored to no end very quickly, but then I was in and I could navigate my way, very quickly at the same level. So I think you have to think very deeply into what's important to you and what's appealing for you.
So when you finished your PhD, what did you think you were going to do at that point?
I knew one thing after my PhD is that I would not work in research because the pace, seriously, the pace was way too slow for me. And I was driving my PhD advisor nuts because I kept saying, so are we ready? Can I, finish now? And so I knew that. And I certainly knew I wanted to go into pharma. That was two givens. What I would do, really, I didn't know because I never worked in the industry. And so when you do a lot of schooling, and I'm thinking about your chemistry comment before, you really are still very far from understanding what the jobs are. So actually my very first job had nothing to do with my PhD at all, but it was the best job I could ever get as a newcomer in the industry.
And you mentioned you want to do what's important to you.
Yes.
What is important to you? Why do you choose to be a manufacturing facility?
So really what is important to me is, I'm sure you might have read a little bit about Bristol Squibb, but and there was the same at Sanofi, to be honest with you, what is important is we make medicine to transform people's life. And that's what's important to me. My family was heavily marked with diseases, and I'm sure unconsciously it shaped me deeply as a child, even though I didn't know. And so that's what's important to me. And of course, when you work in manufacturing or a manufacturing site, what's really important is it becomes tangible, right? I mean, I can walk into any place and I can see it. I can not touch it, but I can certainly see it. And I think it's different versus some other roles. So I really like that aspect. And when you work in manufacturing, the other piece, which I've learned over the years, is of course you work for the patients or the customer in general, but you also typically work for families. People that work in manufacturing are very rarely people that hop, across the world and change location. They're often local people. You often have multiple family members that work at the same site, and you feel like you're also impacting the life not only of the patients but of those families, because you provide, obviously means to those families.
I had joked with you that my view of Bristol Myers is driving by and seeing the big sign in the hall in the shows, and always like, what's going on in there? So take us inside your facility, your campus over there. What would we find? It's
very beautiful, I have to say. It is, enclosed obviously for good reasons. What we do follows a lot of regulations. And so what you would find is a series of buildings. As Melissa was reading, we have 3 extremely large manufacturing facilities. And we also have 2 other large buildings where one is for process development of those biologics, and another one is for quality control. So we have those 2 buildings, and then the rest of the facilities are supporting facilities, for our utilities, waste treatment plants, and of course cafeteria and parking for our employees.
Yeah, just was it last November you cut a ribbon on the new facility?
That's right.
What was that?
So we cut the ribbon for the new cell therapy facility. That was on November 3rd. Yes.
What is cell therapy? Describe for us, if Pfizer makes a vaccine, I understand what that is, right? What is it that you're producing, and what would the patient see? What does the end user see?
Yeah, so cell therapy is really kind of like the next generation. It's complete transformation here. Because what you typically think of medicine is a pill, a shot, something like that. So in cell therapy, what we do, so we receive the patient's cells, so blood, basically. And then our mission and what we do is we transform the cells of the patient, we repair them, we re-engineer them, if you want, and then they get returned to the patient. So what the patient sees in that treatment is, goes to the hospital, get the blood into some bags, and that gets shipped to us. When it returns to the hospital, it returns in the form of 2 little vials. These are the cells of interest that have been modified, and they are then injected back into the patients. So it is obviously very different. This is for cancer, as you mentioned. This is for lymphoma. It's using the CAR-T technology, which actually was developed by a lot by UPenn in Philadelphia, and so that's what we do. Is that whole transformation with a lot of quality control along the way.
And is this what are your customer base? Obviously, Boston hospitals, but is this worldwide?
No, yeah, it's not just Boston Hospital. It will be worldwide. This facility is not quite yet licensed. We're in the final steps for that. We have Bristol Mayor. We have another facility in the U.S. Where we do that today for the patients, and we're also building one in Belgium. So it will serve patients, everywhere. Obviously, there's a big logistical questions with shipping the blood and returning to hospitals. So you're directly working with hospitals in that case.
And give us some, in terms of your perspective, Bristol Myers obviously made a big investment in Devon's. It saw some investments. Remind us what is it about Devon's in this area that Bristol Myers decided to invest so heavily here?
So I think Massachusetts in general is a really, it's almost like a mini BMS in some ways, right? There's a lot of values here that are very similar to what the company is looking for. We have Devon's, but we also have Cambridge location. So when you think about it, BMS in Massachusetts is going to be about 2,000 employees. So there is a very strong connection here. So when BMS was looking for another facility to produce Forenza, which is how Devon started, there were different locations that were obviously studied. Massachusetts has the advantage and Devon's of being close to a lot of schools, certainly, and at that time, mass development was obviously the process of looking at transforming most of the Army base into commercial, and so there were a lot of other discussions there that took place on what would that mean, what would the partnership be like, and of course that played a key role in it.
And this is Breakfast with the Boss, and over there you're the boss. So tell us, what is a day like for you? What is a typical day?
I don't think there is a typical day for me. It is very varied. I think one common thing is definitively I spend my day with many people, from the shop floor, with interactions to outside visitors, to internal visitors, to in many meetings to resolve issue, make decision, look at the future. There is not one typical day, I have to say. Sorry.
So, no, that's fine. I read recently that BMS was ranked number 5 in productivity and number 1 among the big biopharmas. I can't recall who did that ranking. It might have just been me. Is that part of your responsibility over there, the productivity? I mean, are you, telling people to work harder? Like, what's
Yeah, we
what's,
crack the whip.
yeah, exactly.
No, I think it relates, and yes, we're highly reviewed in the sense that Bristol Myers is very well run as a company, and so of course it comes from the contribution of everybody. And when you run a large site like ours, of course we contribute in two ways. We contribute in making the product and generating ultimately revenue, but we also contribute a large quantity of expenses for the company. And so our direct impact is to be as efficient as we can, of course, and making sure that we always produce, right first time. So there is no discarding of anything or things of that nature.
What are the challenges that you face and that facility faces?
They're very different. This is what makes the job exciting, is because you have a lot of challenges. First, I would say our most critical resources are people. So this comes with its own share of challenges. Because sometimes you feel like, if I had just robots, it would be so much simpler, but obviously you don't, and that's great. But there is always a lot of people topics that come up. How to keep your people engaged, how to provide opportunities, succession planning, and so on. So definitely a lot of challenges there. We of course have technical challenges. It is a very, very complicated business. It is not, simple chemistry. Biologics is, we, not only for cell therapy, but for the other products we manufacture, biologics is working with cells. So they are living organisms, and so they decide sometimes to do things differently. And so you have a lot of complexity. The product needs to be impeccable. So there is a lot of technical challenges as well. And it's a very large facility, many buildings. There's always something that can pop up, and you need to fix something.
The shortage of employees is troubling for many companies of all sizes.
Yeah.
Have you faced that, and have you solved the problem, or what have been your strategies?
Yeah, if you think of the site, it started, I think Bristol acquired it in 2005, and obviously we are over 1,300 people right now. So we've along the way have hired a lot of employees, and we intend to hire probably another 300 to 400 over the next 2 years. So we are continuously looking for people. Is it challenging? Absolutely. And so it is how we address this. We have varied partnerships that we've established with Massachusetts in many ways, either with Mass BioEd. We've created some programs with them. We've been recognized, therefore, by them for that as key funder and, of course, big investor in those programs. We have other programs which we've done directly with some colleges. We do a lot of events and fairs to educate the people about what we do and their jobs that we have or that are coming up. You really have to try so many avenues to tap into different groups. We also really work hard along the way to go into people that need a job and for whom life has not been always the easiest. So we have specific programs with veterans. We have specific programs with underrepresented groups and so on, because we also want to give back, right? So I think it favors win-win situation. that's the only way you're going to make headways. It has to be a mutual benefit here.
What are the types of jobs that you're talking about?
Many. Obviously, it is primarily still a manufacturing and testing site. So for sure, technicians for the different manufacturing facilities, but technicians also for maintenance, because you need to maintain the many equipments that we have. Then you have, the layers above, the supervision, the managers, and so on. So we recruit process engineers as well, people who will work in QC. So there's quite a variety.
You mentioned Mass Bioed in the program with them. That's a life sciences apprenticeship program?
Yes, that's right.
It seems to be a new approach. When I think of apprentices, I think of the building trades. But to have it in life sciences it seems like a new initiative.
It was completely new. We actually, it was not just Bristol Myers, because many of the pharma have the same issue. So we wanted to make sure that this provided us with people who, because yes, when you work in a manufacturing facility, in our manufacturing facility, it's very different than if you work, I don't know, making parts at Toyota, for example, right? And so there is some skills that we require and that not everybody has. So we wanted to promote a program that would develop those type of skills. And so it's, again, a win-win situation. There is quite a bit of Mass Bio in Massachusetts, so it provides those apprentices with those skills. Hopefully we want them to work for us, but ultimately this is why we did it with other companies as well, even though we were the initiator and the main contributor here, because we also have to work together with the others on that.
And shifting gears a little bit, the past 2 years we've all had to figure out how to keep our companies going and be safe. You had a huge challenge there, obviously. I would imagine telecommuting isn't an option for a lot of your folks. How did you manage that? And I'm sure these folks would be interested to know that this wasn't your first health crisis that you had to manage through, a world health crisis in a manufacturing facility.
Yeah, so, when the pandemic started, I was at Sanofi in Pennsylvania, but obviously it applies, same thing was happening here, and the same type of protocols and so on were put in place. So, to your point, yes, when you work in manufacturing, you don't work remote. So, obviously, we had about, on this site, we had about 60% of our staff that was full-time on site. At Evans, and similarly in Pennsylvania where I was, at the beginning of the pandemic, there was no missed production. There was, we kept going every day. We never shut down. And it was, so it applies in both ways. And, when I compared what the companies did, it was very, very similar. So a lot of it, I remember the very first COVID case, when I was, I won't use that example, but I'm quite sure the same happened here. When I was in Pennsylvania, and so we had that first case, and we were not too sure what we needed to do. So everybody was panicked. It didn't really have a sense. And we were very close to New York City. And if you remember in the news how dramatic it was in New York, so there was probably even more anxiety coming from that. So we worked closely with our medical teams, and we had very strict protocols that were put in place. Our primary focus was making sure our employees were safe. And so everything we did was around what measures did we put in place to ensure that. And in both facilities, very happy to share, there was never a work transmission. So people who got sick. They never got sick because I was next to Jason, and Jason had COVID and gave it to me at work. So that was something really crucial. We of course did a lot of things here, talking protocol, but we also rewarded employees, differently. Of course, who came on site and so on. But we also had to put in place, like many, the different ways of working, because you still need those people who don't work on site. And so we established a lot of other means of communication and so on. Most of it, or some of it, I would say, we still use today. But in my view, nothing replaces face-to-face. And so while we maintain some level of hybrid work model, definitively, we have a lot of on-site employees. So, and you refer to not the first pandemic, it's true. If you remember, and obviously it was a different kind, this was in 2009, and this was pandemic associated with flu. And so at that time I was at Sanofi Pasteur, so this was the vaccine division of Sanofi, and got involved extremely heavily in that pandemic in developing the vaccine for that one, and manufacturing the vaccine. We actually built and launched a facility, a complete facility, and that was my project at that time for that. So it was a same thing. People were worried. In this case, our employees were worried to work with that material, because when you work with vaccine, you work with the live virus to start, and then you make it, of course, safe into the vaccine. So how to manage that was another situation. So it was the beginning of Tamiflu, the product from Roche, and so a few of us, where there was not a lot on the market, so few critical employees were given Tamiflu. We're like, okay, if you get sick, you get this, but keep it safe. I mean, it was yet another unique experience.
I'm going to ask one more question, then we're going to open it to the audience for questions. And this is a little off topic, and I don't think I told you I was going to ask you about this, but when you're not working, you have a hobby of breeding a certain type of dog and dog shows. Tell us about that.
Yes, so this is my sanity check. I do everything with passion, right? So my other thing is I love animals, but in particular, I love this specific breed of dogs. So they're large, hairy dogs, they're herding dogs. And it's a French breed, but it's also a fairly rare breed. So I've taken a personal mission to try to preserve this breed as much as I can.
What's the name? Is it Briard?
Briard, yes. And so I occasionally breed them. I also want to promote the breed, so I do show them at dog shows. I also compete in obedience. We just did a herding trial with one of my dogs. And on top of it, as I said, my sanity check is because when you work, we all have a lot of pressure from work. So when you come home, they're here and they're never mad at you, and you have to let everything off your shoulders here. You cannot be mad at them, and so it's a way to balance things out.
Thank you. I always say the best questions come from the audience, so thank you for those questions. Thank you, Odile Smith, for your time this morning. Very much
You're
appreciate
welcome.
it.
Thank you both so much. Thank you, Jason. You know that I couldn't do half of my job without you, so I so appreciate all that you do for us. And thank you, Odile, for joining us. And we do have a little token of our appreciation.
Very appropriate.
Very appropriate for today. So thank you. Thank you. Stay dry out there. I want to say thank you so much to Barry from Air Public Access for joining us this morning and reporting. Thank you to the Devon's Commons Center. We have a full house today and they've done a great job keeping up with coffee. So very grateful for that. Definitely keep an eye as we move forward with the breakfast series, where we're hosting the events, because we plan on keeping you guys on your toes. And we may have some at the Hilton and some here, so keep an eye out. And we actually have one also scheduled this season at the Groton Inn, so you will definitely want to make sure when you get the invite to pay attention to that part, please. We have some great upcoming events that I want to point out. On Tuesday, October 18th, we are going to be over at Parker Charter. We are going to meet the new principal and do a tour of the school and meet some of the students. And Mass Development is going to be there speaking, and they're also sponsoring the coffee and pastries, so thank you so much to them. On Monday, October 24th, we're actually going to be right back here, and we're going to be hosting our job fair, and so hopefully we'll help get some more workers in the workplace for some of our businesses. We are doing on October 27th, we are doing the 6-chamber bash at Great Wolf Lodge, and of course, being so close to Halloween, costumes are optional, not required. I do plan on wearing one. I don't know which one yet, but so please, hopefully somebody will join me. And then our next Fidelity Bank breakfast is going to be, our guest speaker will be Karen Collins from Bisou Sweet Confections. And for those that don't know who Karen is, Bisou Sweet is currently housed at Phoenix Park in Shirley, but they are expanding, and it's, oh my goodness, they're a bakery, and they do the most amazing smells in the building, I can say. So we are going to miss that, but they are expanding, so we're super excited for them. They're expanding into a larger facility in Leominster, excuse me. So very much looking forward to hearing from her, and we'll try to see if we can get some samples. And on that note, we're so thankful for Fidelity Bank, excuse me as I stutter, for Fidelity Bank for sponsoring our breakfast series, and they've been huge partners of ours for as longer than I've been involved in the chamber. As Bristol Squibb has been a supporter and sponsor of the chamber since they've come to Devon's, and so we're super grateful for that as well. So thank you so much.